Namaste. In this video, we will discuss in detail about king or Raja or Indra, which we call in Shadyantra. So king signifies a monarchy, not a specific person. So it comprises of a king with its royal people, royal family and royal troops. King cannot be more than one in any kingdom and represents a king with a royal troop. King is at the right side of Arthashastri, which we call it as a minister or mantri. King is ranked half step more or intermediate step more than Arthashastri or minister. Remember, king is the supreme commander of entire kingdom and is a powerhouse as well. King can also promote or demote the army and officials. Let's discuss how a king or Raja moves. We already know that any official or royal officers can move one step at a time as normal behavior. King, when empowered, can move 1 plus 3 equal to 4 steps in total and in any direction. And king can move like any ranked army officer. Raja king is half rank higher than Arthashastri minister. Hence they can jump over any friend actor. For example, 2 steps diagonal, 2 steps diagonal straight, or 2 steps straight, or 2 steps straight and then diagonal. Let's see the first example. King's troop can move only 1 step as per the capacity. You can see in this picture, king is not empowered, is not given any powers, hence king can move only 1 step in any direction. In the second example, you can see king is empowered by a spy, hence king can move 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 4 steps. In the third example, you can see king is empowered but still unable to break the border. Empowered king can move up to 4 steps. And when king is breaking the border in second, third or fourth step, then all real powerhouses must be active and alive. So in this example, king is not able to break the border because Arthashastri or minister is inactive and inside the palace. In the example 3.1, which is the extension of example 3, we will discuss about how is king is able to break the border. Here, king is empowered and empowered king can move up to 4 steps. When king is breaking the border in second, third or fourth steps, then all real powerhouses must be active and alive. And this example also, all the real powers are alive and they are not in their palaces. Hence, king is able to break the border. Let's discuss how a king is able to strike the opponent. We will discuss some examples as well. King can strike any enemy actor when the following conditions are met. First condition is, we know that king, Arthashastri and Senapati, all 3 of them must be alive. Second condition is, king, Arthashastri and Senapati, all 3 of them must be outside their palaces. If any one of them is inside the palace, then army becomes strikeless. Remember, unpowered king can strike enemy of any rank or strength. For example, Padati, Guptchar, Kacharohi, Shurveer, Maharathi, Senapati, Arthashastri, and even the opponent king. Important to note is that Narad or Rajrishi cannot be captured as they are not enemies. We will now discuss about how a king is able to push the opponents. King, one has no authority to strike the opponent, but can always push any opponent. And this is applicable to other pieces also. All the strikers can at least push the opponent. King, minister and general If anyone is dead, then army cannot strike but only push the opponents. Thirdly, king, minister and general. If anyone is inside the palace, then also army cannot strike but only push the opponents. A normal king has the strength to push the opponent by moving only one step at a time. But empowered king can push opponent by moving up to 4 steps or jumping like a knight. Let's see examples. In example 1, you can see king is pushing the opponent by moving normal one step. And in second example, you can see king is empowered by spy. An empowered king is pushing the opponent by moving up to 4 steps or like knight. You can see king is pushing the opponent king by moving 2 steps in the same direction. Let's see how a king is unable to push the opponents due to obstacles with some examples as well. In example 1, you will see king is trying to strike the weakest piece, which is called pawn, but king is not able to strike the opponent pawn due to obstacle, and king is also not able to push the opponent pawn due to obstacle. So remember, if king or minister or general, when anyone is in palace, then army becomes strikeless. In this condition, king can push the opponent but cannot strike because the minister or shastri is in palace. Anyways, the king can even not push the pawn because pawn is obstructed. In the second example, you can see the king is trying to push the opponent minister, but opponent minister is obstructed by a pawn. In this scenario, king can easily strike the arshas. In some scenarios, king is unable to strike the opponents. So let's discuss those scenarios. King inside the palace in any condition becomes helpless and entire army cannot strike the opponent. Moreover, king cannot strike the opponent by coming out of palace. Now we will see how a king is promoted with some examples as well. King cannot get general promotion like non-royal actors. King or arshastri or mantri has to prove their valor to get promoted. Let's see the example. Here the king has reached at the end of opponent's dissolved castle. Hence, king can be promoted only at the end of opponent's dissolved castle, and then this king becomes emperor or Rajendra or Vikramaditya. But if king is convicted, then convicted king can neither be demoted nor be promoted. So we can see king when promoted becomes Vikramaditya and wins the war, and game ends. King also becomes inactive in palace. So let's discuss about it and see some examples. King inside palace in any condition becomes helpless and entire army cannot strike the opponent. An activated king when still resides in palace, then they can push the opponents but cannot break the border or cannot strike the opponent. Let's see for example, an inactive king cannot come out of palace on their own. In this image, you can see king is inside the palace and is inactive, hence king cannot come out of palace. In the second example, king when inside the palace and becomes active but still cannot strike any opponent. So king is inactive but was activated by the general outside the palace. So finally king became active, but since king is inside the palace, hence king cannot strike the opponent outside the palace, which is next to king. Similarly, when example 2 can be extended further as example 2.2, 1, king is inside the palace and is inactive, and with the help of general who is outside the palace, king was empowered and king became active now. So king can easily come out of palace and move up to 4 steps. Further extending the example 2.1 to 2.2, now in the same example, king is inactive and was activated by the neighbor army general. Hence, king became active inside the palace, but king is still powerless. Army general cannot strike the opponent spy or even pawn because army general's own king is inside the palace. Now, in third example, king when inside the palace and becomes active, then also cannot break any border. You will see king is inside the palace and activated by the neighboring army general who is outside the palace. And now king is trying to break the war border but cannot break because king is inside the palace. Further extending the example 3.1, you will see king was activated by the neighboring army general, and army general wants to move 2 steps, but army general first of all cannot move 2 steps, first condition, because king is powerless and is inside the palace. Second, even if general was very near to the war border, like in the 4th row, then also general would not have broken the border because king is inside the palace. Let's discuss how a king offers a permanent ceasefire. King offering the truce or ceasefire means that army cannot go beyond the line of area of control. However, army can move backwards and strike the opponent as per their capacity. King offering the truce or ceasefire is permanent till the time king is not revoking. Another king when offers the truce, then war gets stopped. Arthashastri or minister or mantri, which we call, and even general, they can offer the truce, and this truce is temporary and never stops the war. So finally, truce or ceasefire has been discussed in detail in another video. Let's see the example. In the first example, king when moving from one location to another location, if bows down, then it means that the king is offering the truce to stop the war. And remember, opponent king can still continue to not accept the truce and they can stretch the war. In the second example, if bowed down king when moving from one location to another location stands normal, then it means the king is cancelling the truce proposal. In the third example, king when enters into the peace zone in normal condition, it means that the king is offering the truce. Remember, opponent king can still continue to not accept the truce to stretch the war. In the fourth example, king when enters into the peace zone in bowed down condition, it means that the king has accepted the defeat, and in this case opponent king or army has no reaction required in this condition. Let's see how a king or Raja neutralizes the Narad or Raj Rishi. Arthashastri or king or spy can neutralize the peacekeeper's impact for the time being. This topic is very broad, so the process of neutralizing the peacekeeper has been discussed in another video. By this, we end the detailed description of king or Raja. Thank you for watching. Dhanyavad. Namaste.